list number 10 is her real name, the reason she changed it, and why she hates it. It's common for artists to change the real name to something that works better as a stage name, but normally it's by choice and they pick one that they really like. Nicki's real name is Onika Tanya Mirage. Not exactly a boring name. I actually really like it. She claims that she didn't want to change her name, but said that her record label forced her to. They chose Minaj because it was close to Mirage and it would feel like she's keeping part of her surname. But she doesn't feel that way at all. She actually hates the name change. During an interview with Vogue, she said, "Somebody changed my name. One of the first production deals I signed, the guy wanted my name to be Minaj and I fought him tooth and nail, but he convinced me. I've always hated it." Well, I guess it is too late to go back on that now. Although I feel like she could change her name and people would still go with it. I'd call her by another name. Next up at number 9 is Nicki used to have multiple personalities. We all know her as one character she's played up with her rap artist stage name. The nails, the wigs, the outfits, the twerking. But back when she was a kid, she took on different personas. Now I know what you're thinking. We all probably used our imagination like that as a kid. I mean, I still pretend I'm Miley Cyrus sometimes, but she didn't take on personas as some kind of game. She actually did it to escape from her rough home environment. She would turn herself into a character and be somebody completely different as a form of release and escape. During an interview with New York Magazine in 2010, she revealed that she would act out 15 different characters. She said, "To get away from all my parents fighting, I would imagine being a new person. Cookie was my first identity and stayed with me for a while. Then I went on to Harajuku Barbie, then Nicki Minaj. Fantasy was my reality." Honestly, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do to get through something. So whatever, I'm cool with it. Sliding into the number 8 spot is she was fired from her first job. Something that seems so simple, yet we always forget that celebrities all started as regular people at one point in her life. We all have to start somewhere. I mean, my first job was at Tim Hortons when I was 15 years old. Tell me in the comments what your first job was. I actually really want to know. Nicki's first job was working as a waitress at the Red Lobster in the Bronx, New York. She said she applied there as a teenager so she could earn some extra cash on the weekends. As teenagers, we all want that extra spending money, but the restaurant ended up giving her the boot because she didn't have a good reputation with the customers. Apparently her customer service was often poor and her attitude got her in trouble. I bet they didn't realize who that teenager was gonna be one day. I wonder if she went back if they would give her free food and stuff now that she's like a big shot, although she was fired. So I'm not really sure. Cruising into the number 7 spot is she was discovered through MySpace. Everyone has a success story and I personally had no idea how Nicki ever got noticed. She just kind of showed up. She was once an artist who was determined to make it, so she started by doing backup singing roles for local New York City rappers. From her experience doing that, she started to write her own material, and like most of us during that time, she was sharing her life and her music on her MySpace page, which was eventually discovered by Dirty Money CEO Fendi. He loved what he heard and signed her to his label. That connection led Nicki to Lil Wayne, who collaborated with her on a series of mixtapes. First one was Playtime Is Over, which came out in April 2007. They released a few mixtapes over the next couple of years before she signed to Lil Wayne's Young Money label in August 2009. She was actually the first ever female artist on his label, and basically the rest is history. Long story short, she became a big star after that. So never underestimate the power of sharing your talents on social media. You never know who's watching. I'm gonna start putting my bird calls on there. And at number 6 is she wanted to be an actress. This probably stems from all the personalities that she was once impersonating in her personal life to escape from her family issues. But she actually took her passion quite seriously at the time. She went to LaGuardia High School in Queens, New York and studied acting. Apparently, she was turned down when she submitted for their singing program. Joke is on them. Nicki admits that Meryl Streep has always been one of her biggest idols and is the one person that would leave her speechless. In 2001, she was cast in her first off-Broadway show called In Case You Forget. At the time, she thought it was going to be the start of her career, but it never really took off after that. It was actually after that she turned to working other jobs and shared her music online. Halfway through list number 5 is she is obsessed with stuffed animals. Now, you might think you just figured she likes stuffed animals based on some of her crazy set pieces, props, and costumes, but turns out it's much more than that. She's actually obsessed with them, and for those who don't know me well yet, so am I. I have a collection of stuffed animals and I literally treat them like my own children. So basically, all I'm saying is, Nicki, I can relate. The 36-year-old has a few monkey stuffed animals that she carries around and also treats them like her kids. During an interview, she confessed that she carries 7 stuffed animals around with her whenever she travels long distances. She openly admitted that she will even have a conversation with them when she's alone. I do that too. I sound like a psychopath right now. One time she lost her favorite pink stuffed monkey named Oscar at the airport, and she offered a $50,000 reward if anyone found him. Tell me she's not obsessed. This is a real sickness, y'all, and I have it. I would literally cry physical tears if anything happened to my stuffed animals. I would probably cry over my stuffed animals more than my actual dog. And like, I'm not even kidding. That's so messed up. Here we are, number 4, with where she was born. Most people think she was born in New York because that is where she spent most of her life growing up. But turns out she was actually born on December 8th, 1982 in St. James, Trinidad and Tobago, and moved to New York with her family when she was just 5 years old. People are also surprised when they hear that the artist has an Indian connection. Both of her parents come from mixed origins. Her dad, Robert Mirage, is from Indo-Trinidadian origins, and her mother, Carol Mirage, is from Afro-Trinidadian descent, which makes Minaj a 1/4 Indian, which is actually pretty cool. In the third spot is the fact that she used to be managed by Waka Flocka's mom. True story. Waka Flocka's mom, Deborah Antony, was Nicki's manager at one point in time before she got fired in 2010. Not gonna lie, I didn't even know that this was her profession, never really heard of her, but apparently she's also managed people like Gucci Mane. It made headlines back in 2010 that Nicki fired her without any explanation. Deborah spoke on it and said she received a letter that was a suspension at first, but then another letter followed that one, and it was a cease and desist from Nicki's attorney stating that she can no longer do business with Nicki Minaj. Is that even legal? I feel like you can't just drop someone like that. But Deborah didn't hold any grudges on the situation and also said, "I love Nicki. I wish her the most success. It's not about the music. She is like one of my children. I wish her no harm, only much success." Well, damn. She handled that a lot better than I would have probably. Beginning the list at number 10 is she was a member of the Bloods gang. Rumors started after Cardi dropped her single called Bodak Yellow, where she rapped the phrase, "These is bloody shoes." People started to claim that she had connections with the gang, or she did in the past. But the rapper herself later confirmed it during an interview with GQ. She was part of the gang, in some ways still is, and yes, she regrets ever getting involved. She told her story saying, I quote, "When I was 16 years old, I used to hang out with a lot of agonizing cliff diver bloods. I used to pop off with my homies and they'd say, 'Yo, you really get it poppin'. You should come home. You should turn blood.' And I did. Yes, I did." She describes it and says it is similar to a fraternity or a sorority. It wasn't about the violence or money for her, but she wants young girls to know that they should not join one. Cardi remained silent about it for so long because she didn't want to lose endorsement deals or have it affect the chances at her getting a big signed contract deal. Now that she has that, she said, "I wouldn't want a young person, a young girl, to think it is okay to join it." Despite it not rooting Cardi's career, once you have that connection to a gang, it never goes away, and it can be incredibly dangerous. Up next, number 9 is she doesn't have a driver's license. She has no problem rapping about expensive cars, and she even owns Lamborghinis and Bentleys of her own, but usually people who drive these sorts of cars have their driver's license because they want to drive them. She is not one of these people. She's openly talked about the fact that she owns 5 wildly expensive cars that she can't even drive. And she proved it to the world during an episode of Carpool Karaoke where she got behind the wheel of James Corden's Range Rover in a parking lot, of course. They had set up cones and flags to try and teach her how to drive through a mini driving course, but she failed miserably. They even had her try to parallel park for the first time, and she ended up backing up over a camera. But James asked her what we are all wondering: why own so many cars if you can't even drive them? She responded by saying, "To take pictures with." Apparently, she couldn't rap about having expensive cars before owning them. She said that she was being an imposter. The reason for not getting her license is also very simple. She said that she's scared. Driving makes her scared. Sliding into number 8 is her body swells when she goes on a plane. Now, it's a pretty common thing for people's feet to swell on airplanes. Basically, all the liquids in your body sink to your feet during the altitude change. But the reason for Cardi's swelling is a bit more serious because it comes to her plastic surgery. In May of this year, Cardi had to cancel some of her shows to properly recover from her plastic surgery. She had some post-pregnancy work done on her breasts and her stomach. But after flying one day, she posted a close-up video that showed her ankles and feet severely swollen. In the video, she said that it was a scary side effect from her recent liposuction and breast augmentation. In the video, she said, "My doctor was like, 'Yo, you cannot be doing all these shows because you're not fully healed. I gotta get better. The way that my body be swelling up when I catch planes and It's scary that I'd be freaking out. Dr. Shermack explained that even though the surgery was done to her stomach and her breasts, the swelling is all gravitational and it is very common, so Cardi will be just fine. In the number 7 spot is she has a younger sister. For some reason, I just assumed that Cardi didn't have any siblings. I'm not really sure why. I don't think she talks about her that much. I don't know. I was just left in the dark when it came to her having siblings. She has a younger sister named Hennessy. And no, that is not a made up name like Cardi's. Her real name is Hennessy Carolina. Like her older sister, she too is becoming a star, but for a different talent. Hennessy is now a social media star after she started uploading a series of videos about her career as a stripper. Some of them went viral on Instagram and TikTok. The 22-year-old sounds just like Cardi. They share a lot of those crazy sounds and facial expressions and that very interesting slang. When asked how she got her name, she says it came from her dad, who went straight to the delivery room after a party where he had been drinking his favorite, Hennessy. He suggested it as their daughter's new name, and apparently Cardi's mom also really liked it, so they went with it. And at number 6 is, how did Cardi B get her name? We've all wondered this at some point in time. There is no way this girl's real name is Cardi B. Her real birth name is Belcalis Marlenis Almanzar, which was chosen by her parents when she was born in the Bronx. She didn't switch her name until she started to pursue her career as a rapper. Because her sister's name is Hennessy, she says that everyone they grew up with used to call her Bacardi. Hennessy, Bacardi, get it? So when she was growing up in New York, she was known as Bacardi, which she actually liked. That's why she had no hesitation when it came to picking a rapper name. She told Wendy Williams, "Then I shortened it to Cardi B. The B stands for whatever, depending on the day." I personally thought the B stood for Bacardi, but apparently it has meant a number of different things. One of them I won't say because it will just get bleeped out, but I'm sure you can figure it out. Halfway through at number 5 is her first album she bought was Missy Elliott. I've always wondered what famous artists listen to. Like, do they listen to their own songs? Do they have celebrity crushes on other celebrities? And if they're a rapper, does that mean they only listen to rap music? Or do they country, pop? Like, these are actual valid questions that I have. But Cardi was once a regular girl like all of us, and we all have our own taste in music. Growing up, we would buy our favorite CDs, or we would download songs onto an MP3 player. Well, in my generation, anyways. Turns out Cardi's first album was Missy Elliott, and she has been fangirling over her ever since. She has no problem admitting that she looked up to her, and she is what inspired her own music career, which is why she freaked the F out when she finally got to meet her. She met her at the Warner Music Group pre-Grammy party and snapped a picture with her. After posing for the picture, Cardi filmed a video of her screaming, "I met Missy Elliott, I'm a hype." Missy just smiles in the video, and Cardi looks like the happiest person on earth. Like a kid seeing Disneyland for the first time. Moving on to number 4 with, she went to college but dropped out. People often make comments to the rapper saying that she isn't educated, but she did actually attend school for some time. She attended Renaissance High School for Musical Theater and Technology, which was a small specialty school on the Herbert H. Lehman campus. Cardi actually loved going to school, and she was bummed when she had to drop out. She has opened up about her past and explained that she once had a dream of being a history teacher, but had to leave school because she couldn't afford it any longer. She just couldn't support herself. But she hasn't given up on getting an education. She recently revealed that she still aims on going back to school. She said, "Maybe when I'm older I'll have time to go to college. Why not? It's never too late to make your dreams come true. Sometimes it's just a matter of juggling things to create the right atmosphere and the perfect conditions." Cardi also admitted that leaving college gave her the time and opportunity to get caught up in music, so maybe it all happened for a reason. But before we move on to another number, you guys need to see this clip of 16-year-old Cardi B performing a Lady Gaga song at her school talent show. Okay, you guys, in the 3rd spot is she got plastic surgery at 19 years old. If there's one thing Cardi doesn't hide, it's all the plastic surgery that she has gotten. She flaunts it, she talks about it, she fully admits it to her fans. She even shared that the first time she ever went under the knife was at 19 years old. During that time of her life, she was working as a stripper, so she felt that it would enhance her career. She got breast implants done and butt injections. She was making enough money from the strip club so that she could fund the surgeries on her own. She actually got illegal injections that were not FDA approved and not administered by a doctor. But she says she was just so desperate for a bigger booty from the pressures of being a stripper. So needless to say, her life at 19 years old was a lot different than the majority of ours. I was working at Tim Hortons trying to pay for my cell phone bill, and she's out here stripping for boob job. What a world. Here at number 2 we have the fact that she used to work at a grocery store. Cardi wasn't always a rapper, and she wasn't always a stripper. Surely she had a first job like the rest of us, right? She did. She was a cashier at the grocery supermarket, which basically sold all organic stuff. That was her description of it. But she ended up getting fired from her job because she was showing up late too often and was giving her coworkers way too many discounts. It was actually the manager from the supermarket that suggested she become a stripper. Cardi spoke on it and said, "The manager from the Amish marketplace said, 'You're so pretty and you have such a nice body. Why don't you go across the street and work at Private Eyes?'" She explained that she was hesitant at first because she thought strip clubs meant that you had to have sex with people, but when she found out what it was, she decided to go for it. And to her it paid off because in just one day at the strip club she made more than a week's pay at the market. Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is the fun fact that he was once sued by Evel Knievel. The American stunt performer was not thrilled about Kanye's 2006 music video for Touch the Sky and ended up filing a lawsuit against him. If you haven't seen the music video, Kanye dressed up as him and dubbed himself as Evil Kanye Evil. Kanye Evil in the video and did a parody on one of his most famous stunts. But Kanye put a little spin on the whole video and added a bit of sexual nature to it, which Evil criticized as vulgar. His actual thoughts on the video were, "I don't want him using my image to promote filth to the world." But in the end of the lawsuit, they ended up settling it, and after working together in a legal meeting, Evil actually said that Kanye was a really nice guy and quite the gentleman. So kind of a turn of events. They reached a settlement. All good. Up next, number 9 is he lived in China. He often talks about Chicago being his home no matter where he is in the world. I mean, he even named one of his children Chicago, so that is how much that it means to him. But when he was 10 years old, he left Chicago for a year and lived with his mom in China. He lived in Nanjing because his mom became a lecturer at a university there back in 1987 as part of her Fulbright scholarship. Kanye was young but still remembers the culture and experiences. There's actually pictures online of his time in China, and one of them shows him using chopsticks to eat his food. I don't know why, I thought it was really cool. He's talked about this experience and said, "China was a time where me and my mom spent the most time together. We spent a year together and she used to homeschool me. We really connected there." He also admitted that he still gets really emotional whenever he goes there now, whether it's performing or travel. He just gets really emotional. Moving on to number 7, he's been engaged before. I bet you didn't know that he actually had been engaged before his marriage with Kim Kardashian. He actually had a longtime girlfriend named Alexis Pfeiffer, who was a fashion designer during the time that they were together. They started dating in 2002, and it was in 2006 that they got engaged, and they were engaged for 18 months before they split. People didn't know about their breakup at first until Alexis was spotted on the red carpet without her engagement ring, and that is when the rumors started. Sources close to them said that they were having problems for a while and decided to split after going through a rough patch. But Alexis later spoke about the breakup and said that they still remain as friends and that he is the most talented person she has ever met. So there is no bad blood between them. Rolling into number 6 is the meaning behind his name. We all know him as Kanye West, but throughout the years he has had some really random name changes. In the past we have been told to call him Yeezy, Conman, and even the Louis Vuitton Don. But I'm still telling myself that that was all just some weird joke or face. When he was born back in 1977, his parents actually named him Kanye Omari West, and there is a unique story behind his name. Kanye is actually Swahili for the only one, and his parents believe he truly went on to be that. He came from his parents Ray and Donda West. Ray was a Black Panther who worked as a photojournalist, and Donda was an English professor. Seeing as he is an only child, he really is the only one, the only Kanye West. I actually think that's so cool. I wish I had a cool meaning behind my name. Halfway through the countdown is he inspired a TV segment. Everyone gets a good laugh from some of the segments on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and apparently one of them was inspired by Kanye. When he first joined social media, his tweets were always really random, and similar to now, he was often coming at other celebrities and going off on rants. But believe it or not, some of his tweets have actually been really funny. Like the one that he tweeted saying, "I hate when I'm on a flight and I wake up with a water bottle next to me, like, oh great, now I gotta be responsible for this water bottle." That's actually funny. I wish he tweeted like that more. Jimmy Kimmel took some of his tweets and had singer Josh Groban put them into a music and sing it on his show, which turned out to be this really funny segment. But Kanye did not like it too much, and his tweets quickly turned against Jimmy. He went off on Jimmy. At number 4, we have an interesting fact about his song Stronger. It was a massive success and still goes down as one of his most known tracks, and it might be because of Kanye's input. He is well known for his perfectionist techniques, and they seem to come in handy on this one when it came to this song. Apparently the rapper mixed it over 50 times before he got a final edit that he was actually happy with. The amount of studio time it would take to make that happen is insane, and apparently he also worked with over 8 different engineers on it. To us, it was just a song that sold millions of copies and it was like a banger, but to him it was a lot more than that, and maybe that is why it was so successful. Taking over the number 2 spot is he worked as a telemarketer. It's hard to picture one of the biggest rappers in the world working as a telemarketer. The job came for him after he dropped out of college, and truth be told, he is probably one of the most famous college dropouts in the whole world. But don't get any ideas, guys, like I should encourage you to stay in school, but I'm just saying. He had dreams of becoming a rapper, so he dropped out of school. But mama raised him right and eventually asked him for $200 in rent, which meant that he needed to start making some money. So he got a job as a telemarketer. He talked about the job during an interview and said, "I was way better than most of the people there. I could sit around and draw pictures, basically do other things while I was reading the teleprompter." We have made it to number 1, and we have He Almost Died. Some people might know the story, but I actually didn't learn about it until last year when researching for one of our other videos. He had a serious near-death experience back in 2002 when he was involved in a car crash. He was heading home after a long day at the studio when his vehicle collided with another one on the freeway. He was left with horrific injuries after the accident, his jaw being completely smashed. The injuries required him to have reconstructive surgery, which included a metal plate in his chin and wiring his mouth shut. He actually had to completely relearn how to use his mouth again. But one good thing did come from it. He asked for a drum machine to use in his hospital bed, and during the healing process he wrote his iconic song Through the Wire.